I would like to call the Halifax Elementary School Committee meeting to order on March 7th at 6:03 p.m. Thank you, Jen. We always start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank Area 58 for filming and recording tonight, and just to let the committee know, I have been notified that a member of the public may also be recording portions of our meeting tonight. Would anybody in the audience like to be acknowledged or scheduled to speak at this time? Nope. Okay. We need to vote the regular session minutes from February 7th and February 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Is it correction on the minutes?
Yes.
Or which one? Did you just do the 24th?
Gordon moved them together, so the 7th and the 24th.
So one on the meeting, February 7th, on the back page where it says the signing of warrants and the single signature warrants, they just switched around. The single signature warrant to go with signing of warrants, the signing of warrant to go with single signature warrants.
Okay.
I'll make that
Friendly
the
amendment.
motion with those amendments.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Christine, for noticing that. Okay. All those in favor of approving the regular session minutes for February 7th and February 24th? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I saw Christine drop a stack of warrants,
I'm sorry, no.
so that's happening. Do you have a single?
Oh, yes, tonight we are circulating 10 warrants totaling $328,104.25.
Thank you. Correspondence and reports. I don't have anything. Do you guys? No? Okay. Unfinished business. I don't have any. Feel free to jump in if anybody does. Future agenda items. I have one, and I'm just going to mention it now before I forget, just so it's noted. But I don't want to bring it up until after we reorganize after the election. But I would like to discuss the potential of developing a subcommittee to review the curriculum. But I just want to make it that a note in our minutes this time, so I don't forget after when we have our reorganization meeting. Subcommittees, policy, we did not meet. Negotiations, we have an executive session in a few minutes to discuss. Did the PAC meet between our last meeting and now?
I believe they did, but I have no information in that meeting.
Okay, we can circle back for next. That's fine. Youth and Rec, did he ever get back to you?
I did. I spoke with Dick Steele, as always. I thank him for his hard work. The end of the basketball season's coming. He just wanted to compliment the custodians as well as Mr. Baudry. It's been tough with the winter, obviously, keeping that floor clean. And he said, if he didn't say it once, he said it 3 times. He was extremely thankful to the custodians for the upkeep of that floor. Spring, there's a young men's league that will be utilizing the gym Sunday nights. An adult volleyball league is in the works. I don't know if he spoke to you about that. It's a co-ed. He hopes to have this scheduled for Thursday nights, starting mid-April, from 7:30 to 9:30. I spoke with him. Additionally, I believe there's a teacher who's shown some interest in a school newspaper. That sounds very exciting. I guess that's in the just in the very beginning. It's in the works. It's in the works. He had not much more information on that, and that is after-school sports are very strong. So that's about it.
Thank you.
Just on I talked to Mr. Steele also about the capital plan
Mhm.
and the basketball court and the tennis court behind the school. And asked him if he would try to get repairing that put onto the capital plan.
He-
Because there's-
He spoke briefly about that, but there was not any specific information.
it's not-
The fence was fair, I believe that there was some work gonna be done, or is being done, that fencing,
I did.
but there were no specifics that I spoke with him regarding yet.
Yeah, I just asked him if he would ask capital plan to put it on their list, because the courts are all cracked, so.
Is it repairable?
I don't know, just.
I think we've been
just-
patching it for a while, huh? What do you think?
It's a mess.
I just
It's tough
asked him,
shape.
I
Why
just
don't
asked
you-
him to include it with capital plan in his talks, that was after looking at it, so.
Okay.
Anything with-
Always good to have it on the radar, even if we're not gonna get to it. You know? Did PTO meet?
We did. Be Google. Last Friday was Pajama Day, and that was to help raise funds for All for Books. There is going to be an upcoming book fair from March 21st to the 25th. Volunteer sign-ups are to follow. I'm sure it'll be at Parent Square. It's crazy to think, but Mr. Risi has already started planning for Field Day coming up in June. And they did some allocations. They were able to, the PTO purchase a magazine holder and labels for organizing for the library. I don't know if they've done it yet, but they were going to do treats for the staff to help boost the morale. They were able to purchase book fair decorations, and they purchased a memorial plaque for Kathy, who was our docent art figure, so that was amazing what they were able to do. It was a quick meeting, but that was it. Their next meeting is March 9th at 6:30, and that's also via Google Meet.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
Capital budget, did they
So-
move us up? Go ahead.
I guess I could put that on the capital budget.
Okay. And admin review and union 31? We didn't meet between us. I always forget where it all falls. Okay. So if the committee is agreeable, we have an executive session at the end of our meeting, but it might make a little bit more sense, both scheduling and with the flow of the meeting, if we break and do it now.
So I would move that we go into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection A, subsection 2, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for contract negotiation. Do you want to do the other section as well, or do you want to do that after? Okay, meeting.
I don't care.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we just do contract
Okay,
negotiations?
that makes sense.
So I make that motion.
Second.
Gordon,
Yes.
Jim,
Aye.
myself is a yes.
Yes.
Good, all right. We are back in open session at 6:53 PM. Mr. Beaudry, school update.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess what we can do is start with a shout out to staff, students, and families. Last time we were here, we were all masked, so it was a little different when the students came back from the break. And it's been a long time to see their faces. It was strange. I was trying to guess like who the students were because we seen little eyeballs above the mask. So it's been a long haul. So I just wanted to kind of thank everyone for making it through. And it wasn't easy, but big shout out to our teachers, the students themselves, and obviously the parents that provided the support along the way. 566 students is current enrollment. I think it's kind of staying that way where we've been for this year. PD day. I won't steal too much thunder from you, Ryan. I just thought that on Monday after we returned from break, focus was on SEL and ADL. We had lots of good conversations with teachers in-house, but it was district-wide focus, and it was time well spent. We waited. He's back in on break. On March 2nd, we had a read across our unit where guest readers in the building. We had Dr. Seuss reading challenge that was worked with headed up by our reading department and our library. It was fun. Lots of dressing up and visits that went throughout the building. Well, our conferences are coming up. We are continuing to offer in-person and remote options, just seeing that the offerings that we've had prior, when we provide both of those setups, it seems like we get a higher percentage rate of parents that are able to meet with our staff. So that will be going out on the 15th for families to sign up on a quick time. Book fair is coming up. PTO is back in action during conferences. That'll be in the building again. I think that'll be our first one that we've had in a long time. So we're excited to have that actually in person. It's that time of year too, where MCAS dates have been released. On this handout is just kind of organized by grade level, but our 5th grade is usually the one that kicks it off. So that first week in April on the 5th is when they start, because they actually have 3 tests, ELA, math, and then they do science again. But please make sure that you stay away from planning your vacations during those times.
Do you know the exact dates?
What's that?
Do you know the exact dates? Is it in April?
So April, right on this handout there is a little chart down the bottom. So grade 5 goes, 5th and 6th for ELA. And then we go to grade 6 with April 7th and 8th. And we move to grade 4, which is grade 12 and 13. And I think the break is in there, and then grade 3 is after the break. And then we hit the math, we start again with grade 5, 10 and 11. We go to grade 6, the 12th and 13th. Then grade 4, and then 20th. Grade 3, 23rd and 24th. And then grade 5, and it's up again, 25th and 26th. Some dates down the bottom. We have an early release, which is this coming Wednesday, 12 o'clock. Is the release time for our professional development with the staff. The 11th, we have spring portraits. The book fair is the 21st to the 25th. 22nd, we have report cards that are going out for term 2, and then on the 23rd, another early release. That's 12 o'clock. That's it.
Oh,
Short, sweet.
I like it. Ms. Healy, you're up with the financial.
Thank you very much. In the package, right, you have a copy of those current financial. And most of the budget is holding pretty strong for through February 2022. We have approximately 6 accounts of deficits that are throughout the budget that will be absorbed in the categories of the budget. And the one area that we have discussed in the past that we're starting with some special education, transportation, that's some really significant increase this year. And we had talked before, we tried to get the best way to do all that work, using funds from some other funds we expect to surpluses on. And we had a discussion with the town about how all that's going to work, so we have a plan that they end up working for us all. And then just vocational, we have currently 3 students enrolled there, we will have a surplus there that we'll be able to use towards making this all work. But just keep in mind, this is at this moment in time. Any other questions?
Nope, not yet.
All right. Please go.
Mr. Lynch?
Thank you. As Mr. Beaudry said, Monday we had our first day back after break. We had our anti-bias training for all staff in the district. We then, that was 3-hour session for Halifax teachers in the afternoon. In the morning, there was an introduction with SEL data and some scenarios that the PD Council made. Following the PD day, we sent out a survey and just about next steps and people evaluating if they believe it was effective. 228 responses across the district, and 42% rated it as highly effective, and 85% in total responded favorably. So it seems like it met teachers' needs. And we have our next professional development day, professional development time this Wednesday, where the focus is our understanding by design goal, where teachers can collaborate across the district, focusing on the units that were created in November. And the work will be building based, just because it's hard in the, 2 hours in the afternoon, it's not the most effective use of time to travel. So we'll be back making some more progress on that. So we feel grateful to have that amount of time to work together and to spend our professional development time on those activities. So that's the curriculum, instruction, and assessment update.
Okay, that's it. All right. Superintendent Pruitt?
Thank you. Since the last time we met, the CDC announced that masks were no longer required on school buses, so that's one change. Also in your packet, you'll see a proposed MOU from our Halifax police chief. We do have a school liaison from the police office to Halifax Elementary School, and the chief has asked me to sign off. This is so that we are compliant with the police reform bill, and I'm looking for your support in terms of moving forward. It doesn't change our current liaison or the way that things are done, but it's to make sure that we're fulfilling the expectations with regards to that bill.
Do you understand that?
I think Principal will speak to the relationship or the liaison who currently helps with the school. If you have specific questions.
Do you know when the chief was asking you to have this back in by? Now?
The hope is that you would vote to approve this evening, but obviously before the end of the school year, we would need to have something.
We're
The
voting
sooner
to
rather than later would be best, because we currently have a relationship.
Do you think that it would be appropriate to give us some time to read? I just don't think this was in our email. I could be mistaken if I missed it.
Absolutely.
But
I can let you know that it will be on the agenda for next month, and that
Thank you.
That would be great, because then it would give us some time to digest it and ask any questions that we might have. That's okay.
I will let you know.
Thank you.
Do we also possibly want to have the police chief here at that meeting in case there are any questions?
That's a great suggestion.
I would,
Could we invite? Go
You
ahead.
can.
I'd like to see if maybe the police chief might be able to be here for the next meeting after we have read over the liaison, correct? That we're discussing, in case any of us have any questions. I'd appreciate that.
You can do that.
Thank you.
And the next item is discussion with regards to our preliminary budget. Again, since our last meeting, we have not made any changes to the budget, providing time for you to reflect on it. Just to reiterate, not included in the budget is the math interventionist position, estimated at $35,000. And also not included in this preliminary budget is the instrumental music for .4, estimated to be about $21,000. So at this time, we're looking for your direction with regards to next steps with the budget and/or potential capital items, warrant articles, things of that nature.
With regards to the math interventionist, can we fund the increase through the SR3 grant?
You stole my question.
Sorry.
I know we had talked in the past about how we, or actually just started our last meeting, how we don't necessarily like to do things like that because it's not sustainable moving forward. However, I think that we also, in our last meeting, expressed that we see the need, especially now with the kids just kind of returning to a normal school year. So I guess we're wondering if it's a possibility that that position can be funded through that mechanism before we have a conversation of whether or not that's something the committee wants to do.
So I believe it could be according to the RFP. I don't know that it could be with regards to how much money we have remaining. And I don't know what that means in terms of what we would not be able to do as a result. But yes, we could use ESSER funds if the priority was to use it for this position, but it may come at the expense of something else using Halifax funds.
I just think that it's a need. I know that where the money is for the rest of the town and with the budget being in deficit before Tom speaks. I think that this position is a need though. So if we were going to spend that money at a detriment to other plans, I guess I would just ask what the plans would be that we would be affecting. But I think the need is there for this position, and it's come up for multiple years. I know when I was in the finance committee, it came up as well. So I know that the superintendent would like to see the music position funded, but I think that the need for the math interventionist is a higher priority to me.
Can you talk a little bit about what you had proposed for ESSER 3 spending?
Well, some spending is required, so certain categories, and I think Brian would be better positioned to speak to whether or not he thinks we're pushing up against any limits. I can't honestly say off the top of my head.
Yeah, when the grant was submitted, I think in October, there were lines for professional development, stipends, supplies related to healthy and safe schools. It does seem like we're just, this is going from, if I'm correct, 0.5 to 1.0.
Yes.
So roughly 30,000. We typically budget half a position, is that correct?
That's in the range.
Yeah, I think it would be, those are the current priorities. It does seem, we haven't accessed ESSER 3 yet, so the funding is available in there. I would need to go a little bit deeper on exactly the Halifax amounts and how that could directly relate to Halifax Elementary, but at this point I would feel comfortable saying that funding would be allowable, like the superintendent said, and also I could report more directly on what we wouldn't maybe move forward on, but I believe it would be doable from the grant side.
Madam Chair, for the next meeting, could we just, if we don't vote this tonight, could we just get Mr. Lynch to give us an update on where that would be? Because I think, in fairness to whoever we're going to get to teach that position, knowing that we need a full-time employee, I think that needs to be taken care of as soon as possible. So if we could get that information for the next meeting, and that way that person can also be planned out, and Kane and Brian can work on, staffing that position as well, because we know that's going to be an issue moving forward as well.
So it doesn't necessarily directly impact our budget vote because it's coming out of a grant, so we should be okay in that regard. But if you're going to talk about the use of the ESSER 3 funds, I think our last meeting you gave us a nice breakdown of what we've done so far for grant allocation, so maybe just if there's any update to that when how we've spent ESSER 2. Are we in 2 right now?
That's correct.
Okay.
We're in 2.
if there isn't an update, that's fine too, but, you know, might as well, if we're opening that can of worms, go all in. But I think that, I'm pretty sure the entire committee is agreeable to that direction in regards to the use of the ESSER 3 funds. Correct me if I'm wrong. So there's that. The other question I had regarding the budget is the out of district vocational. Do we have a number of applicants yet for that? I know we budget for 5, correct?
Approximately 5 slots. We have 3 currently attending, none of which are graduating.
Okay.
So they will all be returning. We do not yet have any additional applicants for Halifax for next year.
Okay.
And that's open until April 1st.
Okay. I feel like I had another question, but it's not there yet.
I'm gonna ask
Go ahead.
Tom wants to speak.
Yeah, please. Tom is chair of the finance committee, and if you could give us an update on the status of the financial situation in the town, that would be.
Sure, I think, just in general, we've asked every department to commit level funding. We have a unique situation this year where we are coming up short on sort of everywhere that we would normally have money. There's a number of things that we understand from discussions with Gordon and with the committee that are sort of unavoidable expenses that are creating increases in the budget. The biggest one, the most appalling one to me, is special ed transportation, where consolidation of the vendors has put our business manager in a horrible position of just having prices go up and the prices are being dictated to her. The budget that the committee so far is relying on is a January submission, and I have to say that the budget is absolutely prudent. I mean, there are small increases in things like health services and textbooks and tech that make eminent sense, and then offsetting lines on other things. The big ones seem to be special ed transportation budget, which, you know, overall the budget we looked at was $321,000 more than last year, and 316 of that are accounted for by that single line. So it puts us in there, and then there are other things. We've got a special needs population in the town that this year just happens to be a sort of statistical anomaly in that we have students who need more care and more help than the statistic would warrant, and we have more of them than would. It's just a dip in the enrollment, so there's nothing that we can do about it, but it does create a real cost consequence. So what I asked in an email to the committee earlier was to just, if there was a way for us to look at what the options would be, the dire circumstance of getting the budget to level funding and what we would have to do, what those trade-offs are. The finance committee has to make a recommendation to the town at the annual meeting, as you know, and for us to have as much information about what those consequences and trade-offs would be will put us in a better position to talk to citizens who are going to ask us questions in the meeting and things like that, so that we can help explain why the budget winds up where it is. So that's why we were asking if we could just find a version of the budget that is level funded, then we'll be able to understand what those trade-offs are, and get the other members of the committee to understand it, and hopefully then the members of the public to understand why these things that have driven the budget up this year are not anything that has to do with any real choices that were made here, but with just facts and circumstances.
Did we provide the finance committee with a level funded budget? I don't think we did, right? Did
No,
we?
I have one at 8%, so
That was
higher.
the original budget,
Yeah, I haven't seen anything since the January budget.
and we haven't had an updated one.
Okay. But to your point, the only area we have the ability to cut from is regular day, right? So a large deficit like that is going to take away from.
Yeah, I think it's easy for folks to sort of argue against the budget when they just see the increase, but what if we could show them what the consequence to regular day would be, then we have a better basis for helping them understand why we're recommending the budget.
Yeah, I agree. It makes the argument on town meeting floor a little more palatable when you can be like, hey, if you really want it.
Right, this or this.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's, I mean, it shouldn't be, is that even possible to present some sort of level, just for the sake of argument?
Well, currently the way it is now, it's a $679,000 increase. So, again, if you're looking at FTEs alone, you're looking at probably a minimum of 10 FTEs.
Full-time employees?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm clear on what that means.
That's the impact of a level funded.
Okay.
So the budget that I was looking at, 321 increase, that was the January budget. So since then, it's now 670 increase or whatever it is.
No, the total budget increase is a 7.86% increase, or an increase of $679,372.
Almost, that's
For the total, that was total of all the categories.
All the categories.
Four budget lines.
I had the percentage right, but somehow I got the number wrong. Okay. I get that that's the one line, you know, there are, yes, that's probably the only line that could support a $600,000 cut. Even understanding that is something we have to explain.
Is there a number that we could reduce at this evening's budget discussion that you would feel comfortable with, Christine?
There's some information that we have that has come to us since we did the original budget, some areas that we could make some reductions. And I believe it's a total of, there's approximately $300,000 in items that we have learned about in this process that have changed since we did the original budget. And some of that affects the operating budget, some of that affects special education tuition. But I think it's a total of $70,000 reduction to the operating budget and a $230,000 reduction to special tuition based on some movements that have taken place since we presented the original budget.
But that 230 is from the total, not from just the cost that's presented to us, right? Because that includes a reduction in circuit breaker.
Right, so the $230,000, that one of those items for a student that's no longer attending with us, it's no longer one of our students, we've offset the circuit breaker amount to that already, so we've picked up the impact of what that would be.
Okay.
I actually figured out what those final amounts were, I just did that.
Do you want me to read those? You have that?
I'm going to just take a picture because I forgot to write a second copy as I was doing it.
So that being, I mean, before we vote, I'm assuming that's what you're doing, is gathering your paperwork to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
With the amounts that we're aware of, what that does, that brings the increase down to $406,000 from FY22 to FY23, and that is a total of 4.7% increase between all categories. Operating budget is at 1.63%. Sped tuition is actually down a third of a percent. District vocation was the same, and special education transportation is 66.85% increase.
So I think it's important, oh, sorry.
Sorry, that one line item is driving me.
Yes. I just was going to reiterate that. I just want, like, publicly to make that important note that this is pretty much like out of our hands, and an increase like that is something that, I mean, we need to provide this transportation for our students, and unfortunately the climate that we're in right now is tying our hands to our ability to have options to provide that for our students. So Can you just repeat the impact on the operating budget one more time, because I missed it?
It'd be a reduction of $7,000,
Mm-hmm.
which would be the total increase to $96,425, or a 1.63% increase.
96, sorry, one more time.
$96,425
To the operating budget,
to the operating budget.
and that's 1.63%?
Correct.
Okay.
And special education transportation remain the same as we presented previously.
Yep.
And then special education tuition, with those reductions of $230,000, brings the total amount down to $2,092,389. And that's a decrease of one-third of 1%.
Okay.
And then out-of-district vocational is the same for right now.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate all your hard work, Christine. I know you're always trying.
Thank goodness for laptops.
And Excel, right? Quick math. Yeah, I mean, it's, typically we try to keep our regular day increase below 2%, and I think we've done a fairly good job of making that happen over the years. And, you know, like Christina just mentioned, this is an increase of 1.63% on the operating budget. The rest of it is out of our hands, unfortunately. So unless we all start driving school buses and vans. And unfortunately, I don't, just because we've been talking about the band and the addition of, Plimpton has not had their meeting yet, right? Correct? They have it this week, either later this week or next week. Have they discussed the band situation?
They've discussed it, they have not voted their budget yet, that's later on this month.
Do you get the impression that whether or not they're going to have the ability to add that to their district is somewhat impacted by the decision that we make here in Halifax? Or is it independent of that?
I think it will be independent of that. I think it will depend upon their ability to, I think the ability to find someone
Yes.
will be impacted by whether or not Halifax. I think it's very difficult to find part-time positions in general in education at this time. So, but I think their decision will be based solely upon their ability to prioritize that.
I just want to make sure that we're stating publicly that this is something that we would like to see in our district, and we just don't have the ability to fund it right now, unfortunately. The only article that we are presenting on the warrant for town meeting is the elevator that we talked about last meeting, as of right now, that we know for the building. Otherwise, the building, I'd say, is in pretty good shape.
Definitely.
I certainly hope so. Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, I move that the town of that the Halifax School Committee approve the 2022-2023 elementary school operating budget of $6,006,890 as the amount deemed necessary for the operation of the regular day special education programs without cost of the out-of-district special education and out-of-district vocational education programs.
Can I get a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, I move that that the Halifax School Committee approve the 2022-2023 elementary school out-of-district special education tuition budget of $2,092,389.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Jim, are you voting?
Aye.
Okay.
I move that the Halifax School Committee approve the 2022-2023 elementary school out-of-district special education transportation budget of $790,523.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that Halifax School Committee approve the 22-2023 elementary school out-of-district vocational education budget of $156,500.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a budget in time for a town meeting. We'll send those numbers to the finance committee, so you have them for your, okay.
We voted next Monday.
Okay. Can you, or can we make sure that the finance committee, thank you. Where's my staff papers?
I just to make sure the budget is going to be sent to
The finance committee,
finance committee.
yep, because they are voting next Monday.
Okay, so before next Monday.
Yes.
Do you have a article, do you have an article for the elevator yet?
No, we don't.
Okay, do we have a,
Unless it's in the capital.
It's in capital.
Oh, okay.
Then we do have it, sorry.
that's fine. Everything's all over the place. We'll get it together before May.
Thank you.
Anything else on the budget before we adjourn? No? Okay.
We need to go into executive.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't want to change the conversation until we're done with it. All right, good. We did good tonight. All right, especially for a budget meeting. All right, few dates to remember before we adjourn to go into executive session. March 9th is an early release for grades 7 through 12 at 10:45. For grades K through 6, the release is at 12 noon. There's no lunch served that day. On March 23rd, there's an early release for parent-teacher conferences for the elementary school at 12:45. I'm assuming lunch is served that day. Okay. April 7th is our Halifax school choice hearing, which will take place right here in this room, followed by our regular school committee meeting at 6 o'clock. So with that,
Move we go into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection A, subsection 4, to discuss the deployment of security personnel and/or devices or strategies with respect thereto. And a second session, executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection A, subsection 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law. Approval of executive session meeting minutes, December 6th, February 7th, and February 24th. And not to come out of executive session except for the purposes,
of adjournment.
not to come out of executive session. We'll adjourn from executive session.
can I get a second?
Second.
Gordon?
Yes.
Jim? Myself is a yes? Yes. Okay.